Good morning. So, thank you very much for those of you who have come back here before, who are already subscribers. Thank you very much for joining me again. And for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Deborah Carr, and I'm a USA Today bestselling author of historical fiction. I also write contemporary romances as Georgina Troy. And today I am very excited to be joined by fellow HarperCollins author and multi-best-selling author, Glynis Peters. Hi, Glynis. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Hi, Deborah. I'm so excited to be here. Thank
It's
you for
lovely chat.
inviting me along.
My pleasure. I'm so excited to hear all your news. So I'm very excited to be a USA Today bestselling author, as I keep saying everywhere, because that's my one claim to fame for myself. But you are that. You are also, I have had to take a screenshot of this because I'd never remember. Globe and Mail bestseller in 2019, 2021, 22, 24. Toronto Star bestseller in a couple of years. New York Bestsellers Award Gold in 2019. Amazon UK and USA bestseller in various years. You've been featured in Hello magazine. You're a winner of the HarperCollins Canadian March Madness Shelf of Fame. I mean, how many awards and accolades? It's quite fabulous. So, did you ever imagine that could happen to you when you started writing?
Never, never. All I hoped when I wrote my very first book, as a self-published author, was somebody would read it. One person. I was quite happy
That you
outside
were
of the
related
family.
to?
Yes. Um, within 6 weeks of the first book being published, with what was Harper Impulse, which is now One More Chapter, HarperCollins, um, I became this bestseller, and it was just incredible, absolutely incredible. I can recall being told that I was a USA Today bestseller with my hand down a drain, clearing a drain, while my husband was holding.
It's not the glamorous life
No,
lots of people think it is it? No.
there certainly wasn't any champagne then. It was quite amusing. Kept coming in, and then imposter syndrome hit, which we all suffer with, and it was like, gracious, how have I got this? How do I deserve this? And that, and I mean, and then one day I just sat back and I thought, be quietly content, Linus, because this is amazing. At the age of 60, I was then, and then 6 years later, I'm still achieving. So that's
I mean,
wonderful.
you really are
It's
achieving.
overwhelming.
I am very excited that one of my books has nearly 7,500 reviews. I couldn't imagine ever in my wildest dreams all my books together would have that many reviews.
Mhm.
But I noticed that The Secret Orphan, your book, has over 21,000 reviews. I mean, that is so massive. It's
It
just
is, and
incredible.
and the nice thing about it is 90% are positive.
Yeah, no,
And that's
absolutely.
incredible. Yeah, I get fantastic emails from readers in Canada, and what have you with that book, um, because I use the Canadian heroes, and that really touches me. But when I see the numbers start creeping up, I'm like, this is just amazing, absolutely mind blowing for that
I mean,
book.
it is a fabulous book. I zoom through. I absolutely love that book. But sometimes there can be fabulous books that people don't discover, and people have certainly discovered your books.
Oh yes, they appear to, which is lovely. Thank you, readers.
Yes, absolutely. Oh gosh, no. So you've got so much happening. I mean, one of the things we're going to do today is we're going to reveal the very gorgeous cover. I have it here, for the Orphan Secret Library. So that's your next historical out then.
It is, and it's a standalone. It's not connected with the Red Cross Orphan series. So this one is a standalone, and that is due out in November. It was going to be, I think, be January, but Canada were very keen,
Oh,
HarperCollins
lovely.
Canada. So everything's been shifted to November. which was all right until I realised the deadline was zooming.
Yeah, deadline is
And I
scary.
was thinking, hang on, I haven't got that many months now. Got a few out here. So yeah, we got it done. And it
So,
should be on Charlotte Ledger's, our publisher's desk. So I'm waiting to hear
how
back.
exciting. So, what is this book about then?
It's about a young girl called Alice Carmichael who, for one reason or other, I won't say, found herself in an orphanage. I am the orphan writer creator, so
Really are. You really
know.
are.
And yeah, so she finds herself in an orphanage, and somebody recognizes her from the past, or they think it's the past, and they contact a member of her family. And World War II is in full force, and something happens, and she suddenly finds herself in need of accommodation. And it's hard to sort of say too much because it gives away a few spoilers. But she finds herself in the village of Thorpe Abbotts, which is where the Masters of the Air Apple TV
Oh,
film and
right.
historical film is out. But I must say that I was there as well, actually at the museum for the 100th Bomb Group. And that museum in Thorpe Abbotts in Norfolk, they are doing such a marvelous job. They really are, of reminding us of what happened there, of the men, the Americans who lost their lives there. Was It's overwhelming. I stood on a runway, an empty old runway, just listening to the sounds. There was nothing. And I imagined a young girl standing there listening to the noise, the frenzied noise, and the planes coming and going, and the injured pilots. And I wanted to set my book there. The curators and the volunteers have inspired me with stories. I can't thank them enough.
Give
And
goosebumps.
uh, yeah, so I decided that my fictional story would be set there. Billingford, and there's a little village called Dickleborough, but she Billingford is it's a crossroads village, if you like, I suppose, in a way. But I had a feeling of setting it there. And she meets a British airman and an American airman. And at 17, her life moves forwards, and she somehow becomes a mobile librarian
Oh, wow.
with helping someone by being a postie. So
Oh, sounds
the,
wonderful. I
the
can't wait.
story, yeah, and then her life becomes um, very complex indeed. So, um,
It really, really sounds fabulous. I've had that sort of image myself. We have, we're lucky enough to have the air display every September here, one day, and you have obviously individuals. So we have I don't know if they still do it. I don't know if they'll do it this year. Every year we're told it's the last year. So a Lancaster bomber, and we have Spitfire and Mosquito and things like that. And they're individual ones. And I've thought many times, that is so loud. What must it have been like when you see these films where you see, I mean, tens or hundreds certainly going overhead, that sort of heavy roar. It must have been incredible. So I can totally understand how you would have stood on that runway, imagining that. It's quite incredible. I think
I felt humble
yeah. Yeah.
and
And to think,
grateful.
like you say, a 17-year-old girl, 17-year-old girls, now, and, in our day, probably our biggest thing was, what we're going to wear when we go out the weekend or something like that. It wasn't this all-encompassing, life-changing stuff that these people had to go through. And as you say, these young guys giving their lives, and they're so
Oh,
brave.
yeah, yeah. I just, I mean, both you and I go in depth into our research, and we
Yeah.
come across heartbreaking things.
Yeah.
And we've discussed before, it takes you to a dark place.
It does.
So you have to have that uplift of something else
Yes,
to get
totally.
you out of that dark place.
Yeah. And I
Um,
find with mine, it also, so I write historical and then I'll write one of my contemporary romances. And of course, that leads us into you actually have a new pseudonym, don't you? So Amber Raven. And
it
we've
is.
got your first Amber Raven book coming out later this year as well. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, that one is due out in October. So you can imagine
Busy
my life.
year.
Yes, just as busy as you now. So, yes, Amber Raven, The Wayborn Witches, is set in Norfolk, and it's again fiction, but it's about well, it's a set of twins actually, but one of the twins, her life journey as a witch, having been brought up as a witch, and she has to make a lot of sacrifices, and she has to deal with a powerful um, demon force, if you like, and the only way that she's the weaker of the two on the mystical side of the twins, but she has enough power to keep her sister suppressed, and she needs to keep her sister suppressed. And um, there is a life tree, the tree of life, and it holds all the blood, the ashes, and everything of their past ancestors, but only females, because a curse was cast that only females would be born after the first witch in the 16th century was one of the only ones who was she was burnt at the stake, which isn't
Oh,
always the case in the UK. It was more of the American European, but I got around that in my fiction, as we do. And yeah, so I've gone back to medieval, to the start of when the tree was a sapling and how that came about. And then I've worked my way through until she is 60. And we meet her in her 60s as well. And of a romance that she had to sacrifice, and how that built up, and she became the high priestess of the coven.
oh
Um,
gosh, it sounds wonderful. I actually,
yes.
I'm just thinking if I move my think that witch there,
Oh,
I don't know if you can sit there.
I can
You
see
actually
her.
you gave me that
Yes.
because you not only now write about witches, I'm not saying you're a witch, but you were born on the 31st. You were born on Halloween, weren't you?
I was. Yes, I was born on
Actually, your
Halloween.
birthday.
Yes, I've always been fascinated, but I've kept it hidden. Well, not hidden, but I've kept it sort of to myself, or for myself as such. You know, obviously my husband is aware that I'm a little bit weird, and the kids probably think I am as
I think
well.
weird
But
always
I know
helps.
they do.
Weird is always very good, especially if I think if you live in a fictional world, it certainly helps.
That's it. But now, in my office, sadly, when I lost my mum, I realised that actually I was holding back out of respect for, Catholic and Methodist parents, and um, I then, when we were younger, it's like, what are witches? And it's sort of basically a woman on a broomstick on Halloween, and that's all you got fed.
It is.
So I started looking into it a little bit more, a little bit more. I love nature. I can find something beautiful in an old stick that's floating on a piece of water, and my husband will just look at me and like, really, okay, and off we walk. um, yeah. So I decided that Amber Raven had to come out, and um, Myrtle Netherwell was like my companion in my head when I was a child, and she is now actually featured in the book.
How
So
fabulous.
yes, and it's
That's
been
wonderful
lovely
that
to
you actually
release.
have the ability to bring that out in a book, to bring that to life. Fantastic.
Yes, yes. So yeah, so there's an age romance as well going on. So a more mature romance.
So I mean, so you've written, so the next thing you'll write, so we've got Amber Raven's book coming out in October, and then we have the Orphan Secret Library. I'm
I
terrible.
know we have.
Is that right? Yes, the Orphan
I
Secret
forgot the title the other night, as you well know.
Library. Yes. Coming out in November. So what are you working on at the moment then?
Well, um, book 4 of the Red Cross Orphans. It's untitled at the moment. It's the friends of Kitty Patterson, my Red Cross nurse, and it'll be their stories of how basically how they met her or how they all met up, and then that is the last book in that series. So
Right,
that's the tie-up book, if you like.
right.
Um, and then Amber Raven, she is writing, or will hopefully be about to go next week on a research trip back to Norfolk. And I've got a working title, and we think it's going to go ahead, or I think it's going to go ahead, which is The Women of Wyndham.
Wonderful.
And that again is, but that's probably going to be Victorian. But again, it'll be to do with um, witches, covens, and that sort of background. Um,
Fantastic.
yeah, and there will actually be Besson's broomsticks involved, but they won't be flying.
Oh, I can't wait. It's all so exciting. I think we're very, very lucky to do this for a living.
Oh
I
yes,
never thought I'd be lucky enough to, I mean, because you were a nurse for many years, which obviously must have
yes,
helped with your Red Cross series.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes. There was
sorry.
no, as I say, that again, when I needed to dig deep
Yeah.
for the emotional and death scenes, that obviously, I mean,
You
I've been
actually
at
have
that
that actual
bedside.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And I think that comes across. Obviously, we research very deeply, as you say, we go to dark places and that sort of thing. But I think if you have experience in something, um, I know that I mean, when I was writing, so my next book is set during the occupation here. Now, obviously, I wasn't alive during the occupation, but the two houses I've used, one was where my great grandmother lived, and next door, the neighbour's
mm,
home was where my great aunt lived. And I think growing up here with, all the different bunkers and the stories and the feelings, the deep feelings people still have, I think that helps, like with you with your nursing, because and the fact that you were born on Halloween, so you obviously have that much more interest in that sort of date and probably the sort of which side of things than probably I would have done as a child. Um, and I think it sort of seeps into you a lot, doesn't it? And these
yes,
things come out in your stories, and I think it gives like another level, a deeper
yes.
level.
Something that AI can't do.
Oh yes, yes. AI can't do like emotions and memories
No,
stuff like that. It
no,
just doesn't work,
no,
does it? Yeah,
no. It wouldn't. You, yeah. We read an awful lot of other authors' works before they even go to print,
yeah,
and even when they're in their rawest state, we feel it. We
yeah.
feel their passion in their book. We feel
Absolutely.
their knowledge. We feel everything in it. So yeah.
Yes, because that's
Um,
what you want a reader to actually take from your book is the emotions and putting themselves into the story. And well, that's how I am as a reader. I sort of that part of me becomes that character, and you feel all the feels, and you go through the things, and you want things to work out for them, and are upset when they don't, or that sort of thing. Yeah, I think that sort of depth of emotion is not something IA will ever be able to bring out.
no. I mean, when I write, I tend to become the character, the
Yes.
main POV,
Yeah.
um, and she sort of takes over my life a little bit. My poor husband. I mean, he's got um, one wife that he married and gave a surname to, and then another wife that he supported, and she'd got a different surname, and
Yeah.
now he's got a wife who's got a completely different name
Name it
altogether.
completely anyway. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
He still cooks for me and keeps
Bless
me
his
going.
heart.
So bless, yeah. So
Yes, you actually need that support, don't you, to give you the time and emotion to go and do these things, I find.
yes, yes,
Um, I think that's why I'm
the
so grateful that I
background.
do this full time now, rather than
Yeah,
fitting it into a job and all that sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
yeah,
because I know that when I talk about my characters, I sort of slowly get to know them. It's like they're coming through a fog and I get to know them a bit better. Um, I will talk about them like they're real people because to me they are real people. Um, and that probably is a bit odd to somebody out like my husband. You sort of say, I'm sorry, are we talking about a real person or is this one of your books? No, 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 it's one of my characters. You know? Oh, okay,
yeah.
sorry, I wasn't sure.
Oh no,
I think it takes a bit of getting used to for somebody, doesn't it? It's like you
yes,
have different worlds that you slip in
yes.
and out of, yeah.
Yes, that's right. And also, I mean, sometimes I think it's quite a good thing that they don't see what you're researching on the computer because
Yes,
some of it
yes.
is a little bit weird and one crazy.
Yes, some very weird things, yes. And some very dark things because you do
Yeah,
have to find out this stuff. Especially, with war or wounds and stuff. I know I did one of my books, I think it was my last one, the Poppy Sisters. It was in a hospital in a prisoner of war camp in World War One.
lovely book.
And I was so excited. I think it was called the Dakin, I don't know, it was procedure or something. I was so excited. I put far too much information. And Charlotte, who is both our editor, she came and said, Dad, people don't need to know all this information. This isn't a textbook. I know this is exciting to you. It's like, oh my God, they actually did this to people. And it's she said, we don't need all that in it. And I thought, oh, okay. And we don't need all that in it.
No,
People just need to know the quick sort of half a sentence from the nurse. But it's like, oh no, that was so interesting.
no, and
I think that's the
you
thing.
want to share it, don't you?
Yes, this amazing thing I've discovered. Yeah, and it's like, no, people aren't reading your book to find out about medical procedures. They
No,
want,
they've
they
got a
want to
nice
know what
cup of
happened.
tea and a biscuit. They really do not want to be put off.
Exactly. And I think that can be hard as leaving out. I mean, I had the one I work at the moment, a different book, and my editor said, this is a lovely scene, but it really does not take the story forward. So, let's not worry about it. Maybe keep it for something else if you want it, think, oh, I really like that. But it doesn't make any
Yeah,
difference to the story, so it's gotta go. And that can be quite harsh, can't it? So
yeah,
I've just seen, I think we've got 10 minutes left. So I want
yes.
to share your gorgeous cover, which I shall put up in a minute for the Orphan Secret Library out in November. So everybody who's been waiting for this, here it is.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Isn't it gorgeous? So
Yes, no,
how,
yes, I see it now.
I think it makes such a difference. Obviously, there's a lot of things that go
It's
into a
gorgeous.
book being successful and stuff like that. But I think when you get the right cover for something that gives, or that you like, it just seems to contain so much emotion, and this cover really does.
Yes, yes, it shows my young girl from when the very first moment that she held a book when she was younger, and just fell in love with books, fell in love, and but lost the opportunity of reading them through various reasons, and then was lucky enough to find herself peddling around the villages with
Oh, so
a few
wonderful.
books. And that was created after a pen pal in Canada just made a little remark to her, and she took it away and went with it and rode it off on her bike.
That is fantastic. I love how these little things, because I think a lot of the times ideas for books come from when you least expect them, from like a tiny snippet of a conversation, or I don't know, something you might see in a book or something. And from that it can inspire an awful lot, can't it?
Yes. Well, when I did my tour around Thorpe Abbots, I pulled into the main little centre of the village, and there was an old English telephone box filled with books. And I
Oh,
happened to have a couple of spares in my boot, so I jumped out, signed them, and popped them in. So I'm hoping somebody in the village is going to read. And when I actually have this book, I will head back and give a couple of people copies, and then pop one in into that box, because that's what inspired me
yes.
to have that outer reach of a library as well.
And if you're watching this and you live near there, you know to look out for it.
Yes.
I wish I lived
Form an orderly queue.
there. And if not, you must go and buy a copy. Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yes, yes.
Oh, well, Glynis, this has been really, really good fun.
Oh, it's
Thank you
lovely.
so much again for joining me. Thank you for letting me do your cover reveal for your gorgeous book. I've really loved doing that.
That's
I love to hear
lovely.
people's comments, what they think. I loved it. I'm glad you loved it because obviously you want the author to love that.
Yes.
And yes, I suppose we'd better both go back and get on with our writing, hadn't we?
We'd better,
And the
and
coffee.
we've got a lot of work to do before June when we can relax together.
Yes, you're coming over to stay with me. I'm so, so
Yes,
excited. Can't
that'd
wait to
be
show you
really.
around.
No,
Yes, because
I
your
can't wait.
family actually originate from here, don't they? Some of them.
Yes,
Well, you've
yes,
got connections to the island anyway. Your
yes.
parents came here on honeymoon, didn't they?
That's right. We because family were at family lived there, or
Yeah,
family lived there. So yes,
going to be very
um,
exciting.
yes, that would be lovely. I look forward to. I've never been, so that would be
Oh, have
lovely.
you not? Oh gosh, you've got so much to know.
No,
You're going to have to extend your
no.
holiday, I think. Thanks
Oh dear.
again, and thank you for letting me
Take.
share your cover reveal. I really have
Oh, thank
enjoyed
you for
doing that.
doing it. That's
My
wonderful.
pleasure.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Chat to you soon. Thanks very much.
And you.